Good morning, afternoon, or evening to all of you who are joining us today for the Atmosphere Australia. This is Jan from shecco. I'm calling in from our office in Tokyo, and I'm very pleased to be here together with all of you. Of course, we are all a bit sad that we cannot be in Australia with you in person to work on another very exciting event. But we are also thankful to have this platform on 24 to preserve the legacy that Atmosphere Australia has built over the last 5 years. So I will be with you for the next 3 sessions. I'll be providing some insights on the global trends first, and then I will be sharing 2 following panels. So let me please jump into a short presentation by sheccoBase on some of the global trends focusing on market and technology. So first off, hold on please, I'm skipping the slides, so hopefully it will work now. My first slide, there's a little bit of delay, my apologies for that. Okay, hopefully you'll see my Franco, can you please help me? I have my first slide now. So, okay, my apologies again for this technical glitch. So, you know shecco very well, many of you, and you know that the discussion of last 10, 15 years was very much about refrigeration. Last 10, 15 years, we have discussed about commercial industrial projects working with several natural working fluids. But the discussion is increasingly more about the HVAC solutions. And including today, in today's event, we will have several contributions on the HVAC solutions, including the previous panelists. So we would just like to highlight the importance of our market and also increasingly more our focus on HVAC solutions. So according to the Economist, the intelligence unit study that was recently published, there is estimate of 4.8 billion new cooling units coming to the market between 2019 and 2030. The annual sales will hit of 460 million units a year by 2030, growing from over 330 million in 2018. So number of equipment from large to small that is using refrigerant is going to be increasing gradually. Out of that, 62% of cooling demand is coming from the residential sector. To highlight some of these statistics, you see that the biggest number of units shipped in the market or will be shipped later is focusing on residential sector. The domestic refrigeration is clearly already converted to majority of hydrocarbon solutions. Following in the number of units is mobile air conditioning, residential IC. So there's still a lot of HFC, HFO solutions that the industry can tackle in terms of number of units. Clearly these sectors dominate. However, in terms of the projected growth between 2018 and 2030, the traditional large units, industries and sectors, industrial refrigeration, transport refrigeration, commercial AC, are having the biggest growth. So again, the importance of focusing on the sectors that have not yet converted to natural refrigerants and extremely low GWP solutions is there. The need is there clearly. So the projected growth of the HFC emissions over the next several years is quite scary. In fact, you can see from the graphs that without Kigali agreement, without phase-down agreements that are either in place or are being proposed, the increase in HFC emissions is very high, is projected to be very high. However, we believe that these measures will help control these substances, and we need to have a discussion how do we make sure that we follow this path. On the right side of the graph, you see also the projected increase in the temperature rise due to the HFC emissions. And again, the path that we would like to follow with the Kigali agreement, the phase down of HFCs and other measures introduced. So the refrigerant matters. There's a huge amount of HFCs to be installed in the market still, and the impact on both the environment and our industry is significant. We have heard about this topic from the previous speakers, and we'll have more discussion later on. So the topic of refrigerant, of course, is very important for all of us. What are the solutions out there? We talk about lower GWP solutions such as R32. It's been in the market for several years. However, the GWP of R32 is over 2,300 if we consider the 20 years of impact when we calculate GWP. So it's hardly to be called a sustainable long-term solution. We hear more and more about the different concerns linked to HFOs, and especially the high concentration of HFOs and possible cause of acid rain and an impact on the water reservoirs. So this is still to be determined to what extent this is a serious environmental health threat. And we have to proceed cautiously. So we believe that the only long-term and sustainable solutions are natural refrigerants. And that's why we believe that these discussions are extremely important, especially we are starting to tackle the HVAC sector. So now I will just briefly mention some of the trends linked to the three main natural refrigerants that we have been working with: hydrocarbons, ammonia, and CO2. So to start off, let's focus on hydrocarbon solutions. Hydrocarbon-based refrigeration units are fairly established in plug-in systems in light commercial and food retail sectors. We estimate there is over 8 million units being installed in the market using hydrocarbons. It's pretty much business as usual today. Some of you may remember that last year in Melbourne, we had an opportunity to exclusively bring the news that IEC vote has actually been positive. So there was a big news that we have announced during our conference. It was a very exciting time for all of us. And this is now officially in place. However, we still have to wait at least until 21 to see the effect on the markets. The systems that are optimized and available in the market that take advantage of the higher charge that is available. And of course, from IEC, this has to first trigger to the national level regulations, but this will have a serious impact on the market, we believe, starting next year. Water loop R290 solutions have been also one of the established solutions from last 2-3 years. There is at least 2,000 stores already using R290 water loop system, including developing countries. We know about system installed in Philippines, Manila, in December last year. So this is becoming also a viable solution, and the efficiency gains are rather impressive as far as we hear. When we look at the hydrocarbons used in HVAC, in air conditioning, of course, the R290 rack, the room air conditioning is a big topic. We have been following it for many years. Last year, we reported on the first significant number coming from China, which was around 300,000 units. We will be actually getting an update on this number shortly, because end of July is the end of the cooling year in China. So we will be able to confirm if this trend that was set last year continues, or if we have some changes in when it comes to the number of units installed, sold in Chinese market. So roughly there is about 1 million units in the market. And of course, this is still insignificant number in comparison with the total shipment of the residential units. But we believe that this is a trend that will eventually pick up. R290 is also established in the heat pumps, in the mini chillers, and there is increasingly more availability of these systems, especially in Europe, because of the EU F-gas bans that are introduced in some of these sectors. Moving on to ammonia, very briefly. Ammonia has been, of course, established solution for industrial refrigeration sectors, food processing, cold storage, petrochemical. We also know about projects that are using ammonia for, of course, HVAC, chillers, and air conditioning units. district heating, cooling, and so on. So this is just a summary of the trend that we have been following also last couple of years, low charge systems. There is over 4,000 of these low charge ammonia refrigeration systems being installed around the world. There is several hotspots, including Europe, Japan, Australia has a high number of the high efficiency low charge ammonia systems as well. So this is a trend that is here to stay. We see the availability of different configurations available in different parts of the world. Direct expansion, package systems, cascades, secondary systems. So there's many competing solutions out there that are becoming also established practice in the industry in many parts of the world. So the first commercially available low charge ammonia system was installed in 2008 in Japan. Then today we have over 4,000 systems, and I mentioned some of these hotspots. So what we see is there is a pressure when it comes to regulatory requirement, safety aspects, energy efficiency. All of these forces are driving the introduction of low charge, more energy efficient systems in the market. So ammonia again is fairly established industrial solution, and we see a lot of innovation in this space as well. CO2, I know many of you are quite familiar with this map. So CO2 transcritical number of installations. So what I like to mention is that we are now covering both the commercial and large industrial refrigeration installations, refrigeration system installations. So this is a number of transcritical projects around the world, not only retail stores. So in this estimate, there's more than 35,000 of the transcritical installations around the world, with again hotspots being Europe, clearly a trend driven by the EU F-gas regulation, as well as Japan, when mostly the small format stores, you have over 5,000 units installed. Now let us have a look at some of the growth in percentage numbers from 2018 to 2020. You see that Australia actually had the largest growth per annum, or the increase between 2018 and 2020, close to 400%. So of course we understand that the base was fairly low. However, the growth rate is fairly impressive and one of the highest among the countries that we follow. So overall, the CO2 transcritical is established in retail. We see more and more discussion about installation of the CO2 transcritical for industrial projects. And we are all aware about the discussion that takes place between the two camps. Moving on, you may be aware that Shecco has been involved in a number of market reports. We have published a world guide to ammonia refrigeration several months ago, and just 2 weeks ago we have published the World Guide to Transcritical CO2 Refrigeration. So for those of you that are looking for much more detailed information about the CO2 refrigeration worldwide, covering all sectors, please follow this publication. You can download it free of charge. The link is on our website, so you can find it very easily if you look for it. And again, it's a great publication and it's available free of charge. So please have a look. A few developments to watch, as already was mentioned by Mark, our CEO, and in the beginning of the conference. There is several trends. One of them clearly is moving towards natural refrigerants, and we believe that we are now moving from the paradigm that was focusing simply or mostly on refrigeration to a broad focus on HVAC solutions as well. So the technology has improved significantly over the last 10 years, and we are now ready to have serious discussions about residential air conditioning, commercial air conditioning, chiller solutions, and so on. So this is very exciting. The second point is servitization. Pay per use model, and we will have an expert speaker in our next session focusing on this particular topic. And digitalization, of course, smarter systems, integrated systems, energy monitoring, renewable energy involved projects, solar powered. All of this is being enabled by increased digitalization and use of the smart systems. Industry 4.0 is a big topic that we are following as well. We'll be bringing more and more content on this as well. So again, servitization will be discussed in detail by our next speaker. So I will move on. And I would like to close my short presentation with an invitation to first ever natural refrigerants virtual trade show that Shecco is organizing in the very beginning of September, September 1st and September 2nd. It will be 24-hour virtual trade show covering all time zones. So it will be available for all time zones, including Asia Pacific. So the Australian, New Zealand audience is very welcome to attend, or also to present your natural refrigerant solutions. So we have around 50 exhibitors and partners already. We're very excited about doing this trade show, of course, in the absence of the Chilventas of the world this year. And I look forward to interact with you as well. So thank you very much for your attention. And I believe we have just a few minutes for the questions. So if there are any questions, I'm here and ready to respond. So let me please have a look. Market trends. I have a question from Glenn Marsh. Franco, maybe you can help me push the question to the floor. Okay, let me see if that's displayed already. I can read it. Okay. Whilst I applaud the hydrocarbon charge increase from the AEC and the markets will change, and that markets will change with it, I would like the industry to think what is doing to push these changes to the trading packages. So thank you, Glenn, from TAFE, New South Wales. This is a great point. This is not really a question for me. This is a question for our guests and our panelists later in the day. We will have a lot of content and a lot of discussions around this topic. So I would please ask you to stay tuned and follow this discussion, because a lot of this will be discussed in the next panels.